Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I don't have to ask you to repeat. It is a great pleasure to have you all here. We always like to say that it is a pleasure. It's also a pleasure to see you the full house here. It is impressive because every weekend we see more and more people coming, which is good. So it seems like we are doing a good job here, giving exactly what you guys, what we all need, right? The consolation that we need in our lives. I also want to thank you all watching us through the internet. It is a great pleasure to have you all here too. Please, we ask as we go through the lecture, if you have questions, please ask online. You can comment, you can ask questions. Here you also have the option to ask the questions at the end. It is also great to have those questions because in the end, there will be maybe one of your neighbors who may have the same question and they may not ask the question. So you may help others to have the same answer that you may be seeking for. As we always do, we'll begin with the initial reading. Mateus is going to do the initial reading and Ellie will do the prayer afterwards.
So this is Happy Life by Divaldo Franco. Save some time for unpaid brotherly charity and for community action. Spare time is always a dangerous mental space. Donate it to your neighbor or some organization dedicated to good deeds, to the building of lives. Little actions result in the miracle of great accomplishments. Never put off giving disinterested, unpaid help. There is so much suffering awaiting help and understanding.
Good morning. Good morning. Let's close our eyes, try to clean our minds of our problems and concerns, and thank our Father for the blessing to be here today, alive, with the opportunity to keep on going with our lives and improving our spiritual existence. Most of all, open our hearts to understand that we need to love more than be loved, to be thankful more than ask for things, and above all, the gratitude for life and the opportunities to improve and to understand each other, supporting each other and loving each other. Thank you, God, for everything. So be it.
All right, it's nice to see you all here. Just give me 1 second. Okay. So, money. So probably a lot of you guys who follow us on the internet has been seeing this for about a week now. Money. So I'm going to start with a spoiler alert. So for the people who saw this on the internet, money, and thought this was going to be a Spiritist financial advisor who was going to teach you how to get more money faster, it is not. If you thought that I got the 649 numbers by a spiritual sent to me, and I was going to share with you, so get you more money, it is not. So if you came here for this reason, it's still in time to do not need to listen to me for about 50 minutes, okay? And let's be very honest. If any of us here had received the 649 number, what's the chance that we would be sharing, right? None. So it is not about how to get more money. It is not a financial advisor. So actually, the real title would be more something like this. Money, the law of work. Because every time we think about money, that's actually what we're talking about. And you know, in the Spiritism, the more it's given, the more you're going to respond for it. So the more responsibility we have. But for the longest time, we have been trained to think that having more money, and money here, we're talking about money, but just really this money, what it represents is all the material wealth that we have, right? It can be money, properties, whatever it is. So everything that's material, that's giving to us temporarily while we're here incarnated, that's here being represented by money, right? And for the longest time, we have been trained that having a lot of money or having a lot of wealth and material things give us the right to do no work. That's pretty much what we think is synonymous, right? And that's why most of the time we envy the people who are rich or who win the 649 or the lottery, right? Because that's the symbol of early retirement, right? Have you ever seen a lottery advertisement that shows the winner sharing the money, going to do charity on a remote area of this planet? Never. I never ever saw a lottery advertisement showing this. Have you ever seen a lottery advertisement showing that because you won the lottery, now you're gonna keep working? No. Every single lottery advertisement shows early retirement right there, and from now you can do whatever you want with your life and just please all the wishes that you had in. Every single one of them, right? You can go skydiving, you can travel all the time, so you're just gonna please your own wishes and your own desires, because that's what having a lot of money means. We have been trained for it. And that's why we envy the person who won the 649. I wish it was me. Because that's exactly the type of life that I want. I don't want to have to work Monday to Friday, 8 to 4 anymore. And of course, you all have those things that if I win, I'm going to help and I'm going to do all this charity and everything. But in the end, what really wanted the money for is for their early retirement. Because having a lot of possessions means I don't need to work anymore. Woohoo! Great, right? So we have been taught this for centuries. It's not just right now with the media. It's for centuries. That's what having money is. Right? 500 years ago, if I was rich or noble or a queen, means I had tons of servants and I didn't need to do anything. I just need to sit in my throne with my crown and look pretty. That's what I need to do. So for centuries, we have been taught that having a lot of money means to retire, to do nothing, and just please my own wishes and my own desires. But then they send us a lot of people, like the prophets, they send us Jesus, and now they send the Spiritism to tell us, no, it's the opposite. Money means the love of work. So the more we're giving, the more we have to give. The more responsibilities we have towards the people around us, but towards the people or the spiritual plan that prepare their life to us, so towards God, towards Jesus. Because the only reason we have what we have, it's because they allowed us to have. Because absolutely everything that we have in this planet that's material belongs to God, does not belong to us. It's temporarily given to us to heaven. And it's not just about money, but it's about social status. So if I'm the CEO of the company, if I have certain status, or if I have a noble title, because I still have people with noble titles these days, it's temporary. It's a status that just happens in here, right? But because before we start to talk on what is really that money is done and what it's for, I want to go almost a step back. And I'll go to the Spirit's book. Because what I wanted to know at the end of this lecture is that I don't want anybody to go home and give it away everything that they have, empty their bank accounts because I should not have it, because, you know, if I'm really a spiritual person, I should just take care of my spirit and I should really get rid of everything that I have. You don't have to, okay? But if you're thinking about doing it, let me know, because there's quite a few of us that will accept a donation. So don't worry. It's, you know, let me know, but you don't have to. Just being clear there, you don't have to, okay? On part 4 of the Spirit's book, chapter 5, is called the Law of Preservation. And it's specifically on the questions 711 to 717. It talks about two main topics. It's called the enjoyment of material things and necessary and superfluous things. So I'm going to go over a few of those questions. And first question that Kardec does is the use of the fruit of the earth a right of all the humans? So do we have the right to use all those material things that are here around us, like money, everything, right? And he says their right is a consequence of the need to stay alive. God would not impose a duty without granting the means to fulfill it. And that makes sense. Because God decided that for us to grow as a spirits, we should incarnate, get this material body, and come here through experience carrying this material body. Well, this material body has necessities. It feels thirsty, hungry, it feels cold, it feels hot, it needs a shelter. So imagine if God sends us here, say, okay, your growth is gonna be through by carrying this heavy body, but you cannot use nature. All the material things, you cannot use anything. Well, we probably survive maybe, 10 minutes after we're born, because if you're not gonna use the means that are around us to feed us, to drink, to protect us, to create clothing, so how would we survive? So how God would be fair with us? It's almost like throw you in somewhere. It's like, oh no, you're on your own. You never do that. So it's obvious that we are entitled to use what's in the nature for our own preservation, because we need to preserve this body. We need to live. So it's totally fine. And it's actually a right. We do have the right to use the material resources that are around us to live, to have comfort, to give the necessities of life. And then Kardec asks a question that it's actually quite smart. He says, towards what end has God made the enjoyment of material things attractive? Because it is. The material life, let's be honest, is way more attractive. That 649, it's way more attractive than this whole spiritual enlightenment that takes so much work and it's so much harder. So Kardec asks, why he makes this material life so attractive? And the answer is to drive humans to fulfill their missions and also to test them with temptation. And then there's a sub-question saying, what's the purpose of such a temptation? And says, to develop the reason so that they may learn to keep themselves from excesses. So there's 2 points of making this life attractive. First is to make us to fulfill our mission, which means we're here to grow. We're here to grow intellectually and we're here to grow morally. So if we didn't have any attraction to bear our life around us, we wouldn't have probably not even 10% of the technology that we have today. And we need it, right? If we didn't have the technology that we have today, we would never be able to feed a population of 7 billion people on Earth with the same technology that was used 5,000 years ago when, I don't know, population was what, maybe a billion or not even? I'm not even sure how much was the population. We will not be able to do this. So we have to have this attraction to want to make our lives better, to want to grow, to use technology. And we are here to grow intellectually. That's part of the intellectual growth. We have to remember that God created us simple and ignorant. And the whole plan that God created is that we're going to grow intellectually and morally. So this attraction to always want to get a better life makes us grow, right? At the same time, there's the other side, is to help us to learn to not get into the temptations of go beyond what's necessary, to not be greedy. And sometimes you're going to learn in an easy way, sometimes you're not going to learn in an easy way, but that's how we're going to learn. So it has those two characteristics, why it's so attractive for us. And there's a comment from Kardec that he says, the ones that led this excess, that it's so attracted to material life and this excess, to the point that I want more and more and more and more than what I really, like beyond what I really need. He says that those spirits, they actually below the animals. Because look at nature. Look at nature. Any animal, absolutely any animal in nature, when they go hunt, they hunt just enough what they need to eat on that day. They don't go and hunt a cow, but then they kill another 3 so they can look to the other ones and say, oh, look how cool I am. So I was able to kill 4 today. I just need 1, but I killed 4. They don't. They really use the material resources around them for exactly what they need, right? We have a bird back home, it's called João de Barro, John of Mud, that he built his house made of mud. How many houses he built? He built one. He just needs one. He has one partner, he builds one so she can go there and lay the eggs. One. He doesn't build that one and then go build another 10 just to show he's cool. Oh, I can. He doesn't. He just uses whatever he needs. Yeah. Because all that extra mud that he gonna use to build the other 10, it's all being wasted. Because he doesn't need 10 houses, he needs one. So he builds one. Okay. Also, then I should not have a cottage on top of my house. No, yes, you can have your cottage on top of your house. Because that gives leisure to your family. It gives time for you to have a good time with your family. That's not a problem. Okay. The problem is when I buy my cottage, not because I really want it, and actually I don't even like the countryside, but my friend bought one and I cannot stay behind him. So I'm going to buy one as well because I can prove to them that I can actually get the power to do it. See what's the difference here? Am I doing things because I really need them? Or because it gives me some comfort and extra comfort of my family, which has absolutely nothing wrong with that? Or I'm acquiring things just so I can show off, I can show my power, just to feed my own vanity, right? That's the difference thing there. And he asks then, how can people know the limit of what is necessary? And he says there's two ways. Those who are sensible know it by intuition, but many recognize it by the cost of their own experience. So how do I know what's necessary or not? We all know, because our conscience tells us. Again, and if it doesn't tell, go by intuition. Again, think why I'm doing this. Why am I buying this third car? Do I really need it? Or is just my neighbor bought a third car, so I need a third car as well, right? I knew those two guys actually that if one bought a motorcycle 500cc, the other one would buy a 750, and the other would buy 1,000, and then they would buy a car. They would buy a pickup truck. The other guy would buy a better pickup truck, and you keep competing. And then all of a sudden they have 3 motorcycles, 4 cars that they don't need, but shows how much power they have. Our conscience tells us. So that's by intuition. And some of us has already in this point that they say, you know what, I have enough in my life. I don't need to have a mansion to be happy. I don't need to win the 649 to be happy. I don't know. I'm happy with what I have, and actually I don't need more. I'm comfortable here where I am. It's plenty. I have all the comfort that I need. Right? And you can have people with that feeling, living in a mansion because they have either they work or they're born and they're happy what they have, and they use it in a good way, and they don't need to acquire more and more and more. They are okay. They maintain. And you can have people like that living in a very simple, humble house and say, I have enough. And they're grateful. That's called being grateful. Because in the end, that's what it is. We're only going to have this sense of, I have all my necessities when we actually learn to be grateful for what we have. But the truth is that most of us are going to learn by experience. And by experience means by going through experience where we acquire a bunch of stuff, think we're super powerful, and then few things can happen. I think I'm superpower, I'm the top of the world, and not even God can put me down because I really don't even care for God. And all of a sudden I lose everything. Because the same way that God gives to us, He can take it away. Right? And how many people go bankruptcy? By one wrong mistake, business mistake that they do, everything's gone. Or I'm super here and then something happens on the stock market and I lose everything. So if you think you're on the top of the world because you have all these things, so that's learning by experience, right? Or maybe I'm going to learn by experience when I discarnate and realize that all my status and all my money and everything counts for absolutely nothing on the other side. And then I realized that I used to think I was better than everybody here, and then when I discarnated, I probably even way lower than the person that I thought was a nobody, right? So there's many ways for us to learn by experience what's necessary and what's superfluous, right? And for the people that think it's unfair that some people is born in wealthy, some people in poverty, we have to remember that in Spiritism, we know that as immortal spirits going through so many different experiences, we all went through poverty and richness through our experience. So there's no injustice in God's. It's not like I always come as a poor, you always come as a rich. No, we're changing. We're changing, right? So there is justice. Right? And each one is born in a situation that's needed for the lessons that we need to go through. And that's what we need to understand. And then he asks, what should be thought of those who monopolize the fruits of the earth to procure for themselves what's superfluous at the expense of others who lack what's necessary? Say they do not understand God's law and will have to answer for the privations they caused. So basically, when I not only acquire a lot, because some people acquire a lot of money through honest work, even though they still give more value to material things, but they acquired in an honest way. But how about the ones that acquired at the expense of the others? So now I have a lot and you have nothing or barely nothing. So I'm going to be responsible. I'm going to be responsible not for my attitude, my greedy attitude, but for all the consequences that happened to this person because I took it away what it's supposed to belong to them, right? So now I'm getting my death, getting even a little deeper and deeper in there, right? So I want to bring this concept of, and then he asks, how do you know, and actually there's a comment from Kardec that he says there's no written in stone what's necessary and so superfluous. So there's not a list. Okay, having one car is necessary. Having two cars is superfluous. There's no such a thing. Okay, having 3 dresses, it's okay. But if you have 5, there's no such a thing. So for example, for me as a single person, if I have 1 car, it's okay. But for a family with the 2-3 kids to have 2 cars is not superfluous. For me to have a second car would be a superfluous. Why need a second car? Just 1 person, right? But for a family of 4 or 5 people, it's a necessity to have 2 cars. So while one's going to work, the one's dropping the kid in the ballet and the hockey and this, it's a necessary. So what's necessary or superfluous, it changes from each one of us. So there's not it's not a line that says from here it's superfluous or not, right? If I own a multinational company, for me having a private jet, it's actually a tool for work, so I can go from one country to the other or visit the whole country, so I can visit all the locations of my company. Is that superfluous? No, it is not. And maybe that's what gives me more chance to have more time with my family, because instead of waiting for a commercial flight, I can get home faster because I have my own company airplane waiting for me to take me home faster. But for me, if I went to 649 tomorrow and buy a jet, it's literally, I'm just showing off. I'm rich now, and whoo, and I'm gonna just fly around. See how it's different? So there's no, because sometimes also we look to people who are wealthy and say, see those guys, they have, maybe for them is a necessity. So there's no tracing the line. It's up to each one of us. Look inside of us, and every time we acquire something, why I'm acquiring it? I really need it. It's something that's going to give me pleasure. I really enjoy it, or I'm just doing because I want to show off, or I don't really need it. It's just my want, because we still feel off this wants. I want. Do I really need? So that's the question that I have to do to each other. Okay. So just want to make it clear bring this, because I want to make clear that there's nothing wrong with having, our houses, our cars, clothes, to giving ourselves a trip for vacation, to get your cottage. There's nothing wrong in there, all right? It's what we do with that and how we do with that is the main key, okay? Because I said again, I don't want anybody going home and getting rid of everything, okay? Okay. So, I want to bring this book. It's called Dinheiro or Money. I actually found out today that the book is actually translated to English. I was going to tell you guys that it was not. Wrong information. The book is translated thanks to Joyce, the book is translated to English. It's called Money. And it's by Francisco Cândido Xavier, by the Spirit of Emmanuel. I suggest you all to read this book. It's actually very short. You can find in PDF on the internet. It's 32 pages. You can read it probably in about half an hour, 40 minutes. And it's basically, it's divided in themes, and it's all quotes. It's all in little quotes. And easy to read, easy quotes, but very, very profound teachings, as everything that Emmanuel brings to us. No? Very simple to easy, very simple to understand, very hard to apply. So that's Emmanuel all over, right? It could be the opposite. It could be maybe a little bit harder to understand, but easy to apply. No, it would be so much better, but it's not. Yeah, not from Emmanuel. So what I want to do now is to bring a few of the quotes. I think I selected about 20 quotes, but we don't have all this time. So I selected a few quotes from this book, and just want to talk about each one of them a little bit. So first one says, money has no exchange value after death. However, it's the mainstay of general progress if our spirit is centered on the goals of elevation. Money is not the basis of harmony, but on many occasions it manages to restore tranquility, to discourage paternal hearts and unhappy domestic nests, whenever our sentiments incline to true solidarity. And he goes to another samples, like money doesn't bring love, but used with your heart, it can actually bring consolation and love to a lot of people. So basically what he's trying to say is that even though money or all the material possessions that we have, they have absolutely no value once we discarnate. Because when you discarnate, nobody's going to ask you, say, oh, how much you have in your bank account? How much, how much you acquired? It has absolutely no value in there. No value in there once we discarnate. But while we're here, if used with the heart, if used with the charity, it can be a long way. So much good can be done. If used in the right way, it can bring harmony to people. It can bring consolation. It can bring to, like he says here, it can bring tranquility to paternal hearts and to homes that are in need. Right? Imagine how hard it must be to a father or to a mother to not be able to feed their kids every day. This happens all the time. It's happening right now in the world. And I'm not talking about 1, 2 people. I'm talking about millions right now have nothing to feed their own kids. For the people who are parents in here, imagine that. Imagine you not being able to feed your kid for 1 day. Just one. You have no money. You have no means to find 1 day. Those people will go through this every single day. Sometimes they're willing to feed their kids maybe once a week because they found something to feed their kids. So there's so much things that we can do when we apply all the resources that we have in the right way, in a less selfish, in a less self-centered way. Right? And I'm saying just less, because we don't need to become pure spirit right now. And like I said, go out there and donate everything that we have. If it can be a little bit less, this little bit can go a long way, right? I don't need to solve maybe the problem on 100 families, but if I can reach out to that one that I know is going through some difficulty, that's amazing. That's one less family that needs to worry about how they're going to feed their kids, right? Or to help someone to get a job so now they can actually get on their own feet and go and feed their own families, right? So that's what I have to understand, that even though the material things that we have absolutely no value for us in the spiritual plan, they have a huge value here. And that's why when we talk about money, we're not talking about early retirement. We're talking about the law of work, because that's what's given to us. So we can work in pro of our own improvement as a spirit, but to improve the lives of all the ones that are around us. That's actually what's given to us. And that's why in Spiritism we know that the more is given to you, the more responsibility you have. So if you're really jealous of the person who won the 649, think twice, because those people have a huge responsibility in their hands, and they're going to be asked for. What did you do with the money that was given to you? All that wealthy that was given to you? All that power that was given to you? Okay? So let's be content where we are. There's still a lot that we can do. There's not like, oh, I don't have a lot of money, so great, I'm safe from doing charity, I'm good. It's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, the more it's giving, the more responsibility we have. And we all have this illusion that if I got a lot of money in my hand, I'm going to donate a lot. Yeah, we may donate, but are we 100% sure that my vanity and my pride's not going to kick in a little bit stronger with the power in the hand? I cannot say yes or no from my side. And I don't know if I want to be tested. Right? And actually, one of the quotes, he compares the wealthy with the criminal. He says the same way that a criminal, when he leaves jail on parole, it's not a complete freedom. It's like, we're gonna let you go. You partially free, but we're watching you. So you better show up to your parole officer every week. And you better not make a mistake, because you're gonna be back in here. And most likely, depending on what you did, your sentence now is gonna be a little bit higher, right? So that's exactly what he compares. He compares someone with the wealth, a prisoner. They're actually prisoners who reincarnate here with all that power, being watched all the time to see what you're going to do with that wealth. And depending on what you did, when you discarnate, your sentence is going to be a little higher. So they don't, because you have this impression that the more money you have, the more freedom you have. Here, in terms of the material world, yes, we do have more freedom. But morally, they say that we are like the semi-freedom criminals, that we're watching you because we give you all this power. That's how he compares in one of the quotes on this book. So next time we envy someone who got a lot of money, let's think twice. Because we always see, and that's why we all envy someone with money. And we always, at least they have that day, like, oh, I wish I didn't need to work to pay my bills, or I wish that my mortgage was paid for. And I confess that big time. But we don't, and without working, of course, right? We all wish that, right? But we need to be careful for what we wish, because everything has a responsibility. And the reason we have this envy of the people who don't need to really work that hard to pay their bills is because we only look at the material life. We never look at the spiritual spiritual responsibility and the moral responsibility that comes with that. We never think about that when you look to those people, never. But now we should start to do this exercise and looking and say, wow, they have even higher moral responsibility than I do. Do I want this responsibility? Maybe if we start to think about like that, we may not envy them that much. It's like, oh, I'm good where I am. My mission's already quite hard. I don't make it any harder. No, I'll stay where I am. I'm good, right? And that's exactly what it says on this passage. It says, gold with Jesus is a balm on the ulcer of the sick, is a drop of milk for the helpless child. It's a remedy for the sick. It's a wrap for those who tremble with cold. It is help in the home beset by misfortune. It is assistance to the arms that plead worthy activity, protection of animals and protection of nature. So every time we used all the resources that are given to us with Jesus, which means bringing to our hearts everything that Jesus brought to us, bringing the moral side inside of us. Remember the two main laws that Jesus brought to us: love God above all and love one another. If we remember this, we will always use the resources that's given to us to help the others. We're always going to learn to use our resources to do this, to help the sick, to have a child, to have a milk, right? to maybe give someone some clothing in the winter time. Right? And that's just simple examples that are very easy for us to understand in terms of charity. But when we don't have Jesus with us, when we don't have his teachings with us, most likely that's not how we're going to use our resources. So it's very, very important for us to bring the intellectual with the moral together. We're very good at the intellectual. Moral, we still have to catch up a little bit. But I'm pretty sure we'll catch up. We're getting there. But that's what we need to do. We need to use our resources with Jesus in our hearts. Because then this will be automatically. You're not even going to think. You're going to see someone in need, automatically is going to help, right? But if for now at least we think about it and say, oh, I should do it, and I'm doing just because I thought and because I think I should do it, not because it's natural me, it's fine. It's a beginning. Maybe previously I wouldn't even ignore. I wouldn't even go because I should do. I would just completely ignore. It's not my problem, right? But when we bring Jesus to us, this is going to be automatic. Then we're going to definitely start to learn that all the material possessions are temporary. They do not belong to us. And they are here to help us on our moral growth, intellectual and moral growth, but also intellectual and moral growth of all the ones that are around us. Because it cannot just be for my own moral intellectual growth. It has to be for everybody. Because then otherwise, I'm being selfish as well, just for me, right? And that brings to another type of benefits that we get. Because we talk about a lot of money and everything, but how about all the other gifts that we receive from God and we kept just for ourselves? And that's why this quote say, we have with us the stingy of intelligence, hidden in the flooring trenches of inertia, the wealthy of health, who have forsaken the afflicted and the sick, the privileged ones of the joy that close the doors to the sad ones, isolating themselves in the oases of pleasures, the happy of the faith, who seek solitude on the pretext of preserving themselves against sin, the exponents of youth who despise old age, the favored ones of the terrestrial family who forget the wonders of poverty, who roam without home. All these rich people of ordinary experience contract a heavy debt to humanity. So, is this body part of the material gifts that I received? Yes. It's also not going with me. So the same way as this, my iPad, my clothes, my money, my house, my body is also a material instrument, tool that's giving to me temporary, because otherwise if it wasn't temporary it would go with me. It doesn't. So I can be here. So if I'm health, can I help more people than if I wasn't health? Yes, I can. But what I'm doing with my health life, well, I'm living for myself. I'm healthy. I do everything that I want, that I please, that my body allows me to do. And if combined to this health body, I have a lot of money, and I do not have God's teachings with me, most likely I'm going to be like the guy from the 649 TV commercial. I'm just living my life and doing everything that pleases me, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to use this health body that could be used for useful work to help myself, but to help others, to do nothing. I met a guy a few years ago, probably about 5 years ago. He truly believed. So this is a guy who was born in a wealth family, was not really keen on to work. And in fact, he was really keen on find someone that he could lean on, pay his bills, do this and that, you know. And one time I was talking to him, and he told me, if God wanted me to have a hard life and work, he wouldn't make me had born in a wealth family. That's his concept. His concept is, if God gave me all this wealth because he didn't want me to work hard. That's what he thinks the wealth is for. He truly believes it. That's exactly what he told me. If God wanted me to work hard, or, have a life like those people that really work hard, You want to put him in a wealth family. That's his concept. That's what his wealth is for. It's a very healthy guy, body-wise. Clearly not so healthy morally and spiritually. But none of us is. They're healthy anyways. Who wastes a healthy body, who wastes a wealth that could go a long way for himself and for everybody around him, because he thinks that all this wealth is to please him. Intelligent guy, who also uses intelligence for nothing. Actually uses intelligence of how can I sneak money from others and how can I, go through life without doing much stuff. So what he's doing, his intelligence that is given to him, he's wasting. He's wasting, right? I just recently actually heard that he's going to medical school. I'm shivering because I'm from the medical field, and like to have someone with this mentality and going to the medical school, to me, like, ooh, okay, but that's another story. But that's what it is. It's someone who literally wastes his intelligence, wastes his health body, wastes everything. And how many of us maybe do not waste all of this, but waste part of it that also could be used and can be taken away from us? Yes, it can. Because my body can be healthy today, but tomorrow I could have an accident and not be so healthy. Or I can have a stroke. Or maybe on this life, I'll go all to the end of this life with this illusion that, I got away with the crime. Well, how about the next one? Can I have a body that will limit my intelligence? Yes, I can. So many we have in society. Can I have a not so healthy body? Yes, I can. I can actually have bodies that even not gonna be able to do anything. They'll be 100% dependent on other people. And how about the ones that have to have a faith that actually brings them happiness, that brings them consolation? But you know what? If you're not from my religion, I don't talk to you. And I was like, yeah, I don't even want to go there because I don't want to contaminate myself with you because you're not from my religion. So religious intolerance shouldn't be the opposite. If I know the laws of Jesus, if I know about God and that gives consolation to me, shouldn't go and help the others without even talking about religion, without even imposing my religion, right? Shouldn't I? That's more obligation that we have. But instead, I close on my own circle because I won't go with anybody who's out of my religion because of my religious intolerance. So I don't help anybody around because you're sinners. I'm saved because I'm a part of my religion. So I don't go beyond this, and I don't help other people because I don't want to contaminate myself. And once we know, imagine if Jesus had thought like that, because he would never incarnate in this planet. Because he would be so afraid to get contaminated that, but he did. Did he change because he was amongst all of us, his sinners? And imagine if you're not that great right now, imagine how we were 2,000 years ago. Did he change? He was less charitable at the end. He got contaminated. No, he didn't. He's because we are who we are. If I really have my faith and if I really believe in what I believe, I should not be afraid of going out and helping the others. I had one time a patient who was really going to, like, none of us could explain what's happening with us, but all of a sudden she just decided she just want to die. She just want to die, I want to die, I want to die, I don't want to die, and I want to die, and I want to die. And then for me here, especially here in Canada, it's very hard to talk about God with patients because it's a more, it's like fine lining here. Back home I could do more easily. But I said, you know what, I have nothing else to do here. I'm going to try. So I looked at her and said, do you believe in God? She said, yes, I do. I said, so I think it's time for you now to reconnect with your faith. Reconnect to Him. And find your faith. Because if you believe in Him, it means you have faith. So reconnect with Him. Maybe do a prayer. So I didn't talk about her Spiritism. I didn't tell her, what you're doing is actually wasting a body that was given to you and you're giving up and it's such a thing. Like nothing. I just asked, do you believe in God? She said, yes. So reconnect with Him. Reconnect with your faith. If that's all working or not, I don't know. I just know the next day this patient was completely different. was willing to walk. It didn't talk about want to die anymore. I'm not saying that I solved the problem, but it's just a way that I went there and talked about God. Because no matter which religions you have, we all believe in God. Christian, no Christians, can give a different name to God. We all believe in God. So that was my trial. I would fail. She says, no, I don't believe in God. Like, ooh, no, I don't know where to go. But I tried, right? And by her background, she's probably not even Christian. I didn't ask her what's her religion. I didn't tell her what's my religion. I just talked about God. So can all of us reach someone through faith? Especially if you know that faith is what brings us, it's what gives us consolation, it's that what keeps us going. Of course we can. We can reach people through faith. Doesn't matter which religion they are. Doesn't matter if they share the same religion or not. It doesn't matter. We all share the faith in God. So there's so much that we can do, right? If you're willing to do it. And I always remember that all of this that as gifts they're giving to us can be taken away. I just hope that next time don't take the Spiritism away from me. Please, 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 please. Just keep that one. Because then I don't know what I would do without Spiritism. And another quote that it brings to us is this one. In addition to spreading the possibilities with which divine providence blesses our lives, let us provide in the aid of others something of our time, our sweat, our affection, and our arms, the mobilization of ourselves, and will be transforming our own existence in a poem of light and love that can add love and the light over which Christ among men has been building the kingdom of God. So this Wednesday during our books study, Natalia, who I don't know if she's on the internet today with us or not, said something that was like, oh, I know I'm going to use from my lecture. Something that was absolutely perfect definition. She said, we can do charity or we can be charitable. Aren't they the same thing? No. There is a big difference between doing charity and being charitable. And that's exactly what this passage is saying. Saying, on top of doing charity, be charitable. Easy to explain. So, I want 649. I do not have the numbers, guys. I swear I don't. But I want the 649. And now I decide to do a lot of charity. So I donate 5 million to this place, 5 million in there, 1 million in there, 500 in there. I'm doing all this charity. But I go home and I still don't talk to my mom or my dad because I just do not forgive what they did to me in the past. I'm actually, for every single donation that I'm doing, I want to make sure that my name is going to show in there. And if it's possible, the media should come because I want them to show how charitable I am. Right? I don't forgive an offense. I don't even really care for what this money is going to be done with this hospital, this institution, or anything. I just want to show that I was charitable, right? If the money is probably being used or not, it's like it's indifferent to me. I did my charity. That's doing charity. So using our resources that we have no, because that's the other thing too. When I'm getting money from my pocket and I'm donating, I'm giving from something that does not belong to me. It was giving me temporary. It's not mine, right? It's not mine. It's the thing when you're a kid and you want to give a gift to. Actually, I have a colleague who the son wants to give a gift to his girlfriend. 16 wants to give. So she gave the money for him to. So in the end, he didn't give the gift to the girl. The mom gave a gift to the girl. That's what we're doing. When we give from what we have only, that's what we're doing. We're doing charity. It's great. It's great. It helps a lot of people, no doubt about it. But it's different from being charitable. And that's what it's saying here. On top of spreading the possibilities, the divine providence gave to you, give something from yourself. Donate your time a little bit. Donate your patience. Donate your tolerance. Donate your forgiveness. And actually there is a passage, another quote here that it says that when you do I can't remember exactly the words, but basically when you do a financial donation to someone, like when you help someone with your material assets, the people that you helped here on earth will be gratefully going to be very, very grateful to you. They'll be so happy with you, and they're going to be so grateful to you. But when you actually go yourself and help to take care of a sick person, when you actually donate from what you have, they say not only the people on earth will be very grateful to you, but the spiritual plan will be also very grateful to you. So you go to next level, because then now you became charitable. You're not only doing charity, but you are a charitable person. And people who are in nature charitable, they always going to do charity, because they automatically are going to help people, even if they have just a little bit. But that little bit, they're going to help someone. And even if maybe they don't even have extra, because most of the time when we do charity, we do with what we have extra. That's not going to miss. Like, I'm not going to change my lifestyle. But doing charity, like being charitable, is different. It's sometimes donating that little time to someone who's in need that you actually don't have it. Donate a bit of that energy that in that day actually didn't have even for yourself, but you had to find a little bit and give to someone who needed. It's to forgive. That's being charitable. And when we find this in us, doing charity, it's going to be automatic, right? So there is a difference, and that's what they sing here. They sing that when you, Siri, I don't need you. So that's what they sing here. When they actually go the extra mile, when we are charitable people, we actually contributing. We become moments of light and love. That's what Jesus is gonna help. Use it to keep building the kingdom of God on earth, because that's what the main plan. That's the main plan. That's why we have to be here, right? So that's a different type of charity that we have to do. Just the action not different, but I have to go. Let's go a little bit on land of just beyond doing charity. Let's be charitable, right? Because one without the other is an actually, if you're charitable, the other one's automatic. But if you're only doing charity, is an incomplete charity, and it doesn't really help us to grow as a. Or it helps, but it helps a little bit. But if you do that extra step, it's going to help even more. Right? And I think we all need that extra push in there. And it says, in health and wealthy and poverty, in command or subalternity, do not despise acting and serving, because the work in the concessions of space and time is the talent common to all, by the use of which the spirit grows in the direction of higher spheres to which it is intended. This passage from the book Money actually goes along with this passage from the Gospel According to the Spiritism that we studied 2 weeks ago, that's called Be Perfect. And on the Spirit's teachings, there's item 9 talks about superiors and subordinates. And he says, because I also have this thing that, I'm in high position, so I have more responsibility, so, and because I'm low here, I don't have much responsibility. And he says, no. If I'm in a position of command, I have a huge responsibility, because everybody that's below me in terms of command, I'm responsible for them. If that position was given to me, it was because I could bring the good to all of the people that are working under me, right? But then he talks about the subordinates have the same obligation. Because a lot of times we think that because if my boss is not great or my boss is mean, gives me the right to do not a good job. And it's very funny, not really funny, because when he talks about the subordinates, it goes straight to the Spiritists. He goes, if you're a Spiritist, you have an even higher moral obligation as a subordinate to do a proper job. Because as a Spiritist, you should learn that nobody is by mistake in the job that they should be. And if you have that mean job, that mean boss, probably there's something that you need to learn in that you're not in the wrong place. That doesn't mean that you don't have the right to change jobs. You do have it, right? And we all should. But while you're doing that job, while you didn't get another job, you should do it properly. No matter what people around you are doing or not, you have a moral and very clear moral obligation. It's not because you have an obligation because you're being paid for it, because it's a social. No, it's moral. As a moral spirit, you have the obligation to do your job properly, the way it should be done. And if for some reason, like, but I tried to get out of this job and I can't find another one, what they say is, it's probably because you need to stay a little bit longer in there to learn a little bit more. Because maybe, since maybe on a previous one, you were in the position of command and you were a mean boss. And he says the reason sometimes we put in these situations is to learn humility. That's why sometimes you have to put up. So as a Spiritist, no matter if I'm subordinate, superior, I'm from subordinate, if I'm in command or if I'm in commanded, we all have the moral obligation to do a proper job and to worry about the ones there. Because what he says is that every time I don't do a proper job because either my coworker or my boss, I'm actually paying evil with evil. That's what we're doing. You never see like that, right? But that's what we're doing. And you know that by Jesus' laws, we should pay evil with the good. So that's why we need to be careful about it. So even if you do not have money to attend to the needs of your neighbor, do not forget the treasures of spiritual gifts that the Lord has placed in your soul. So we all have something to give. We do not need money. We do not to be rich. We can right now, in the exact position that we are here in society, we all have something to give. We all have something to help. And the biggest example that we got this in this planet, it's called Jesus. Because if he needed money to do the good, he would be born in a wealth family, and his apostles would not be a bunch of poor fishermen. He probably would go there to the temple and get the doctors of the laws. But he didn't. And he didn't acquire any material possession during his time in here. But no one in this planet so far has done so much charity and spread so much love like he did. And then that's why until this day he is our moral sample, the biggest moral sample that we have in this planet. Right? So we all can do it. And he was a proof of that we don't need money. He was born in the middle of the cows and the shepherds. Could not get any more poor than that at that time. Okay. The people that he chose to work with him were poor as well, but rich in their hearts. Okay. And that's why in the Gospel according to the Spiritism, there is a chapter that is not called without money, there's no salvation. It's not called without Spiritism, there's no salvation. The chapter is called without charity, there's no salvation. And so be it.
Thank you, Teresa. It was really enlightening. I had the numbers for the Lotto 639, but I just decided to throw it away because it's not going to be worth it.
See, I said if any of us had it, nobody was going to share.
And I also remembered the Spider-Man movie, right? So
yes.
with great powers, there's
yes.
a great responsibility.
That's exactly what it is.
Do we have questions?
I do have a question. It's not regarding money,
Okay, yeah.
but it's regarding something that you were talking about that caught my attention. You were saying about a person that wanted to die or something. And I remembered about a friend that was talking a long time ago. And he said to me that he was facing some problems, and I asked her if she believed in God. And she said no. And I got so surprised. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And I tried actually to say something, but it was, she caught me, and I couldn't say anything. Why am I learning all of this time? Because I'm not able to say anything to her. And if somebody questioned me about God, and or we were talking about this, and and she says, or he says, I don't believe in God. What am I supposed to say?
It's very, for me, it's
Good question.
so the question is, so we talk with someone, it's more or less the situation that I described. You talk with someone and they're thinking about giving up life and everything, and you ask them, do you believe in God? And they don't. Where do we go from there? To me, that's a very tough question, because I get so much consolation, not only from Spiritism, but just from knowing that there is a God. And through Spiritism, even, and to me it's even harder because as a Spiritist, The Spiritist brings so much rationality and so much consolation. You have no idea how many times in my work I feel like saying, like throwing some Spiritist teachings in there, and I can't, right? Especially when I see a patient frightening because they're passing away. I have to see that. And I feel like to say, like, don't worry, you're not dying. You actually know, you're just losing your body. And I can't, right? Because to me, it brings so much consolation. It's very hard to try to bring consolation. To me, it's very hard. How I'm going to bring consolation to someone who does not believe in God? Maybe you have to get better at it because it's a right that they have. But I think on those people, clearly they're more attached to their material life than the spiritual, clearly, right? Because otherwise they would have some kind of connection. I have friends who are not totally atheists, but they do believe there is a force in there. That's how they are. They don't belong to any religion, but they do believe that there is a force in there. It's a beginning, right? Some people don't believe in anything. I think what we can do is maybe bring our own experience. Say, hey, to me, I have gone through such a hard time. What brings me consolation is actually to know. But that works for me, okay? For you, maybe I understand you don't believe and you have the right to it, because we do need to respect. And I feel extra sorry because I think life with God, it's so hard. Life with all this consolation that I get from Spiritism, it is very, very tough to go through. Very tough to go through. Now imagine not having this. This is what I'm saying. Take everything away from me in the next reincarnation. Please do not take Spiritism. Because then I don't know if I can go through, right? What we can do with those people is maybe try to bring them awareness of what they have in their lives. Because that's what they give more attention. So, hey, but look what the good things that you accomplished in your life. I don't know what it is in your case, your friend, but no, see your family or see, all the things. Look at the job. Maybe you're not happy with your job. Maybe change. But there's a lot of things that this person probably acquired through life, right? It's not completely miserable. And make them to look that, hey, maybe you have some friends that you found out they're not really the great friends, but how about the ones that are, I'm here right now. And I noticed that we are very good sometimes at spending time blaming and being angry at the friends who didn't respond the way that we wanted to respond, and forget to be grateful to the ones that are right beside us giving us consolation. So maybe bring that kind of awareness to them. I remember one time I was helping a friend to put up her wedding together, me and another friend trying to put her wedding together and everything. And then at the day of the wedding, she was saying, oh, I'm so disappointed, so, because I helped with the weddings and they didn't move a finger to help me. And I told her, how about instead of you thinking about them, look into this room and look at all those people who are here helping you to dress and doing everything. Your wedding didn't got ready? Did. So I helped a little bit, but the other girl that was helping me did like tons of stuff. I said, how about you disconnect from them and connect on this other girl who did this tons of things for you and all the people here helping? And she goes, oh, that's true. That's true. I didn't thought about that. I should not be angry at the people who didn't help me. I should be grateful for the people who are helping me. So maybe bring that kind of awareness on what's happening with their material life around them. And maybe bring a little bit of experience. Me, what gives me consolation is that. Maybe that could be a spark that can bring a little bit of a curiosity on them. What is this? And that's the moment when, if the person asks, well, I'm a Spiritist, because I'm like that. If you ask me, I'll tell you and I'll say something. If you don't ask me, I'm religious, I believe in God and everything, I'm Christian, but I do not talk about Spiritism. But if the person asks what my beliefs are, that's the moment. It's like, yeah, yes, let's go. So you have a question?
Just to add to this point, I was faced at least twice with this kind of situation, and the person was kind of agnostic, like religion wasn't going to be the conversation that would lift him up. So I realized that they were in pain, they were suffering, and to a certain extent first, the best thing I could do for them was to actually listen to whatever they had to say, whatever anger was locked inside, and they probably didn't have anyone to listen to them, or they would reply sooner than they were ready to stop speaking.
And secondly is just show empathy, show that you understand how much they're suffering, what they're going through, how hard it is for them during that moment, so they can understand that whatever they're going through is not like it is painful, it's hard, but it's not necessarily the end of the line. And try to end on a positive note. So let's try a small exercise. Let's try to do small things, because they see them as a huge and an unsolvable problem. But all of a sudden, if you break it down into smaller problems, okay, let's just tackle this part of the problem right now and see how it feels. And then it's important for you to follow up as well. It's like, hey, how are you feeling today? Or hey, let's go for a cup of coffee. And little by little, you start transforming how they see reality.
So true. And you brought a very important topic. We're very good at talk, but not really very good at listening. And sometimes that's everything that we need to do is to listen to someone and make sure that they are not alone.
Do we have questions from the internet?
We actually do.
Wow.
Our friend Frederico Madeira, he talks about, he agrees with the points discussed and feels that we have so much pressure, right, from society to have more and more and more. But his question is, how do we deal with that pressure?
So I'm just going to repeat the question. So the question is, society actually pressures us to have more and more and more and more. And that's on. And I spoke about 649, but the truth, if you look to all the kinds of advertisements, they all go, if you don't have this phone, you're a loser. If you don't have this car, you're not cool. If you don't have this, and we constantly bombard this thing that you should have more and more and more things. So the question is, how can you resist to it? To me, it's how we resist to it is actually what we have been trying to do as a spiritist, is actually getting more conscious, individually conscious about what's better for me or not, and try to, and that's why here is studying the gospel according to the Spiritist, studying the Spiritist book, because it's not just a matter of what's, oh, okay, I know that we are immortal spirits and go through a lot of incarnations. They have all this knowledge, oh, whatever I acquire here is not important in the spiritual world, but don't live up for those things that we're learning here. So that's what it is. And like he says on the Spiritist book, why we have so much temptation? Well, it's for you to learn to resist the excesses. And it's up to us as a moral spirits to start to look inside and fight back the good fight, right? With the respect and everything. But decided. And it's doable. It's easy. No, it's not, but it's doable. And I'm going to give an example. I worked as a babysitter for many years in here. And we're in a generation that we give a bunch of stuff to our kids that they do not need. We see now 8, 9 years old kids with cell phones. They have and iPhones. Let's not even say it's not even a cheap cell phone. Like they have smartphones, expensive ones. Am I giving this to my kid because my kid really needs? Or because I want my kid to give cool? So I'm feeding my own vanity through my kid. And the excuse that I hear from all the parents is, oh, but all the other kids have it, so they cannot be left behind. So my vanity and my pride does not allow my kid to be behind. So they have to have the game box, they have to have everything and all the other. So as a parent, I do not decide anymore what's best for my kids. It's society around that decides it, right? So we have to fight that. And I grew up with I took care of a family that actually the kids grew up with me without games, without cell phone. In fact, Daniel now at 18 years old bought his first iPhone because his goal was like he wanted to get to the iPhone when he started to work. Because before that, I think he got his first cell phone when he was about 14. It was a simple phone, and he had to pay for the bills. And now at 18, he saved the money, and he was so happy because his iPhone 8, but he bought it. And he has the sense of how much it costs to have that cell phone. So the parents didn't care if the kids are, and they already grew up in a society that all the kids had cell phones, and all the kids have games. His first Xbox is bought when he was 14, because he saved the money as well. And then, of course, we want to help him when it was Christmas. His birthday would give him money as a gift because we knew he was saving the money. But he had to. You want a game? We're not buying. You bought it. His son was 14. He saved the money, and he bought it. He was doing babysitting and everything, and he saved the money. So those are parents who decide to fight against all this pressure from society and give to his kids what they really need. No wonder the extremely intelligent kids, they read like especially Sarah, she reads like she's a bookworm, right? She's doing double major right now in university. Extremely intelligent kids. Because they didn't spend, because the parents didn't thought it was good for them to grow up in front of a TV or playing games. All the other kids were doing it. They didn't care. So it's up to us to fight this pressure. It's up to us to decide what's better for us or not. Am I doing this because it's best for me, or am I doing this because society is pressuring me? And it's a choice that we have to make. There's no really a real recipe in here. It's just to look at yourself, apply the divine laws, and then see what's the result. If the result is good, great. If the result's not good, I'm just doing what society's asking me to do. And it's doable. It's not easy. And the kids grew up perfectly well. None of them is traumatized. None of them is in psychiatrist now. Like, they're fine. They're totally fine. And there are kids that grew up learning how to be social, talk with people until this day. Because at the time that there was a visitor inside of the house, there was no TV on, there was no nothing. They had to be there and be talking, be part of the family, right? But that's a choice that they make, because that's what it is. To let this pressure feed us or not, it's a choice. In the end, that's what it is.
I just want to add a very quick comment before we close. Yesterday we had this blood donation, and then after the donation we were getting together to talk. And then one of the volunteers mentioned that he received a job offer from a research institute, I guess, where he would be a researcher, but it would be somewhere in Montreal, so it would be far from here. So he was barely sleeping. He wasn't even able to eat much, but he basically had his gospel at home, and he asked for whatever God would tell him what to do. He opened the book, The Happy Life, and then the answer was there, right? So don't look for what is fashion, what is better in terms of money and fashion and what the society is asking you to do. Look at yourself, think about it. So he would have to go to somewhere else where he would have no family, no friends. He would have to learn French. He would have to. There would be a lot of other struggles. For what? For working with someone who won a Nobel Prize in physics, whatever. That's nice. But was it something that he would have really wanted to do? Or he would have to do something that for his family maybe here, or there are so many other things he does here at the Spirit Center. So you have to think into yourself and just do whatever is best for you and for your community as well, right?
Because maybe for him the right answer could be to go.
Yeah.
It could be stay. So there's no wrong and right answer. It's really having this self-awareness. Why I'm doing this and how I'm affecting the people around me. Am I just doing this because it's good for me and maybe it's bad for my wife, work and job and everything? Or so that's what it is. There's no right and wrong answer, but it's really having the self-awareness for sure.
Okay, so we are going to close now for the passes, as we always do. So we now want to thank you all from the internet. It was great to have you all here. We'll have the passes now, and after that we'll just have some announcements, and then we're done. Thank you.